Hello everyone, welcome to supplychainway.com. Today we are going to discuss about a very interesting topic, my favorite because it is related to process. So we are going to discuss today about what is process improvement, what are all the different tools available and how we can do this process improvement so that it is effective and it actually impacts the business results. Okay, so let's start by defining what is a process. So a process is a set of activities which will take in a single input or multiple inputs and then delivers a single output or multiple outputs. This is how a process is defined. Now if you see that, so there is a process in the middle and you have input coming in, it is processed and then the output goes. So now if you have to, first before we go how we are going to improve, first we have to understand how to measure this process. Okay, so when you have to measure, there are three different measures here. So I said input, there is a process, there is an output. So the measures also can be done in three different ways. You can measure the input, right? You can measure the process, you can measure as well as the output. Here I am going to make a very crucial point. Most of the organizations measure the output, okay, which is one of the bad things to do, right? It is not a good thing to do. I'll explain you why. So when you measure an output, right, that gives you a list of performance like these, like for example, you are measuring an output in terms of how many defects in a process. What happens? The defect has already happened. So you're just measuring and going to tell, yes, defect has happened. But actually that is not adding any value to your business. It is just an indicator. So any measure you are doing on an output, it is called a lagging indicator. Now any measure you do on process or input is called a leading indicator, because you are going to measure and fix before actually the issue actually occurs. That's the difference. So output, when you measure, it's a lagging indicator, and when you can similar way measure the performance at a process level, you can also measure the performance at a input level. Okay, so always you have to try and set your measures at your process and input and let the output indicators, that is basically your lagging indicators, do the gatekeeping job to tell, okay, I have improved something here. Is it actually working out? Is it still there is any problem? That is what the gatekeeping job done by your lagging indicators. Okay, so with that basic explanation, let's also see what are all the different types of tools available. People talk about a lot of tools. People talk about lean, people talk about Six Sigma, and then there is a LSS, there is a lean and Six Sigma. There is one more very effective tool called theory of constraints. There are few people still uses PDCA, plan, do, check, act. So if you just go and list down all the tools, you will really get confused. So I would suggest understand what each of these tools do at the crux of it. Okay, at the crux of it, all this tool does problem solving through identifying where the problem lies and giving you a list of options where you can fix it. Okay, so let's keep these tools aside for in this discussion, and I will be discussing with you in a separate video about each tools, what are all the pros and cons of it. So what all these tools does is improve the process from one level to the next level. And a very important point here, when we talk about process improvement, there is two different bifurcations. The first time when you are setting up a process, that is a process setup, there involves a design of a process, and the tools which are needed for this is totally different from an existing process taken from a state A to state B, which is an improved state. That is a different set of tools are needed for it. The first one is called a process setup, the later one is called the process improvement. Okay, so now that clarity has been made. Now in a process improvement, actually what all these tools will try and do is document your existing process, that is what is called as a current state, and then it tries and identifies the waste or in other term you can call it as the non-value added activities. All these tools, what they do is identify these non-value added activities. Now quickly I will explain how you will tell it is a non-value added activity. First, you are going to do a detailed study of a process. This is where industrial engineering as a specialization would be an excellent value add here. If you know that, you can actually knock down this process into smaller steps, analyze them, and then each smaller step is going to be validated whether it is a value added or non-value added or essentially non-value added, in the sense operationally I need. So I'll explain three of them. The first one, value added, the definition goes like this: any step which you are doing on your service or a product which the customer is willing to pay, that is your value added. This is how you have to ask yourself on those each sub steps, right? And non-value added, the customer is not willing to pay for it. For example, take an example of a car. The paint which is done on a car is a value added activity, right? But the car has gone for a testing for say 50 kilometers. They have driven, they're doing a test drive. That is a non-value added activity because customer is not willing to pay for it because he is not interested in that. He may tell that I need this color, but he is not interested whether you are doing a 50 kilometer testing or a 100 kilometer testing. But that non-value added of a testing is operationally needed, right? Because testing has to be there. Then that is called an operationally value added. Okay, so that is value added, operationally value added, though customer consider that as a non-value added for him. And then there will be set of steps like excess motion, that there is a defect in there. All these things will come under your non-value added activities. Okay, so these are the ways when you are doing once you completed your current state process documentation, you evaluate each step to check which are all the non-value added activities, and from there you use these tools to identify them as well as eliminate them to take the process from one state to the another state. I'll have a good news for you. This process never ends. Once you reach your to be state, the to be state becomes your as a state, and the process keeps going on. Never a process, you can never tell a process, yes, it is done, it reaches the maturity and that's it. I have done all the improvements on it. We will never reach a state like that. So that's a good news. Because you can keep working on the process, refine on it and take it to the next level. Great then, all the best to all of you. Go ahead, try out these techniques. Wait for the next video where I'm going to talk in detail about all these tools. If you have any questions, you can just leave it down on the comment section. If you want to get connected, you can also see the links down to subscribe to all the channels, whatever we have from Supply Chain Way. Thank you so much.